Hey there, and welcome to the second annual Gilly Awards, a celebration in film for 2024. I'm your host, Gil Garcia, and today we're going over the best and worst of 2024 in cinema. Now, the Gilly Awards are essentially my version of the MTV Movie Awards. I have a list of categories and nominations to give, as well as award the winners. Now, if you were here last year, the Gilly Awards were strictly podcast only. This year we're doing things bigger. We're going video format. So I want to thank you for supporting the channel and checking out this video. I got sick at the end of December, so this video is actually a month delayed, but I'm glad I'm able to bring it to you now. So, without further ado, grab your popcorn bucket, take a seat, and let's get started. To be eligible to be nominated, there is a criteria that you have to meet in order to be on this list. The first is that the nominees are only films that I have watched this year. I won't be lying to you, and I won't be going off of Rotten Tomatoes. Secondly, they're only films that are released in 2024. So films that got to me late in the year or in January will not be qualified, such as The Brutalist. Speaking of The Brutalist, if your film was in limited release and not offered in my area in 2024, it is disqualified. The Brutalist was only offered at my local theater after the new year rang in. And lastly, these opinions are my own. I watched over 60 movies at the theaters this year, and these are not based off of Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes. These are opinions I formed on my own using notes and research and what I felt in my gut. So you may see some bad films nominated, or you may see some good films that you didn't like get nominated. Let's also go over the categories that you're going to see in this video, starting with the Blockbuster Award, which is awarded to the film that made the most money at the domestic box office. The Floppy Award, which was awarded to the film that lost the most money at the box office. Best use of practical effects. Best use of special effects. The worst use of special effects. The Rising Star of the Year Award. Scene of the Year. Best Actress. Best Actor. Best Director. And finally, the Viewer's Choice Film of the Year. So you might have noticed that Best Film and Worst Film of the Year were not included on that categories list. That's because I'm making the controversial decision to split them off into their own video. On the channel soon, you'll be seeing my top 10 best films of 2024 and my worst films of 2024. Those will be on the channel within the next 2 weeks. So, if you disagree with that decision, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll include them in next year's video, should you want to have them included in the Gilly Awards. But without further ado, let's get to our first two categories of the night, the Blockbuster Award and the Floppy Award. Look, with the ease of streaming services, it's really hard to forego the experience of going to a movie theater. That is why these next two awards are going to be celebrating the movie-going experience while also highlighting the problem with going to the movies. These are the Blockbuster and the Floppy Award. First, we'll go to the Blockbuster Award, which celebrates the film that made the most money at the box office for 2024. This is a prime example of why we want to go to the movies and why I continue to be a champion for the movie-going experience. Here are the nominees for the Blockbuster Award. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, Deadpool and Wolverine, Despicable Me 4, Inside Out 2, Moana 2, Wicked. And the winner is Inside Out 2, taking in over $650 million at the domestic box office and over $1 billion internationally. Inside Out 2 proved that this had to be a bounce-back year for Disney. Last year, Disney had the Marvels and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. This year, they came back huge with both Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. So congrats to Pixar and Disney on achieving over $1 billion at the box office this year. Now, let's change gears and go to the other side of the spectrum. Let's talk about the Floppy Award. This next category brings me no pleasure. This is the Floppy Award. You know, I'm a big champion for the movie-going experience, but when movie theaters are charging $30 a ticket and $25 for popcorn or nachos, it's hard to blame the consumers for not wanting to go out, especially when streaming services at home are doing the job just as well. But when you do go to the movies, you want something special, which is why these movies failed so hard. Whether it was word of mouth or quality of film, these are the movies that lost the most money at the box office in 2024, and rightfully so. Here are the nominees for the Floppy Award. Argyle, Borderlands, The Fall Guy, Furiosa, Joker Folie à Deux, and Megalopolis. And the recipient of the Floppy Award for 2024 is Joker Folie à Deux. Listen, Joker Folie à Deux lost the studio over $150 million at the box office, which was one of the least of their concerns this year. Warner Brothers was struggling in almost every department, movies, video games, you name it, and this was salt in the wound. Todd Phillips went to make a subversive film, a film that subverted your expectations, and it certainly did with the shareholders. This is a movie that was not only misleading in its marketing, but also word of mouth trashed it. Both critics and audiences hated this movie, and no one showed out for it, and rightfully so. This is not a very good film. I never would have recommended it, and it deserves its place on this spot. So congratulations, Warner Brothers. You guys made the movie equivalent of the video game Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. 2 major flops in 2024. Now that's impressive. Let's just get on to the next category, and that is the Rising Star of the Year award. And now we've come to the Rising Star of the Year award, or as I like to call it, the Jenna Ortega award. This award goes out to the actor whose best years are ahead of them and who are up and coming on the Hollywood A-list. Last year I gave it to Ayo Edebiri from The Bear and also Bottoms. This year, let's see who the nominees are. This is the Rising Star of the Year award. Kaylee Spaney for Alien Romulus and Civil War. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. Mikey Madison for Honora. David Johnson for Alien Romulus and Industry. Joseph Quinn for A Quiet Place Day 1 and Gladiator 2. And Paul Mescal for Gladiator 2. And the winner of the Rising Star of the Year award is Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn came onto the scene a couple years ago as Eddie Munson from Stranger Things and has begun his ascension into the Hollywood A-list with movies like Gladiator 2 and A Quiet Place Day 1 this year. Look out in 2025 as Joseph Quinn becomes the new Johnny Storm for Fantastic Four First Steps coming out later this year. I've called it here, this may be the next Robert Downey Jr. of his generation, but only time will tell. As for now, congratulations, Joseph Quinn is our 2024 Rising Star of the Year. We've come to the best use of practical effects. This is a celebration of all the things that the production designers, the costume designers, the stuntmen, and the director does from within the camera lens. The art of filmmaking is a wonderful thing, and when all these people come together to make one cohesive unit, production design is one of the most underrated and underappreciated aspects of filmmaking. So I want to champion that. These are the nominees for Best Use of Practical Effects. Alien Romulus, Beetlejuice, Dune Part 2, The Fall Guy, Nosferatu, The Substance. Alright, so this was probably the hardest category for me to award. Do I give it to a film that's all about the celebration of special effects and filmmaking with The Fall Guy? Or do I give it to a film that executes on every single facet of practical filmmaking with Nosferatu? Ultimately, the winner is Nosferatu. This movie is drenched in atmosphere. Robert Eggers crafted another stellar period piece. From the atmosphere to the use of shadows and lighting, the practical effects of Lily Rose Depp hovering over her bed, the use of gore and rats, and it's just one impeccable film. When you're watching this, you can't look away because you get immersed really heavily in this Transylvanian town that they've built here. Everything is immaculate, and Robert Eggers is a master of this. So congratulations, Nosferatu wins Best Use of Practical Effects. Now I know I talk highly about practical effects, but let's take a moment to celebrate the people who are behind the monitors, making movie magic possible with their use of digital effects. This is the Best Use of Special Effects award, and here are the nominees. Alien Romulus, A Quiet Place Day 1, Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Twisters, Wicked. And the winner is Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2 excels in both practical filmmaking and digital effects, whether it's Paul riding the sandworm for the first time, or the introduction of Fade Raltha on Guy D. Prime. This is a movie that has amazing visuals, a lot of it is digital, and one of the things that makes digital effects so difficult is getting you immersed and making you feel like digital worlds are real. And Denis Villeneuve's team here on Dune Part 2 really blend the lines between what's real and what's fake. Look, I don't want to beat around the bush. This is going to be the category I most anticipated. The worst use of special effects. Last year I awarded it to The Flash. Let's see what the nominees are this year. This is the worst use of special effects.
Argyle, Borderlands, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Love Lies Bleeding, Madame Web, Megalopolis.
And the recipient for worst special effects goes to Madame Web, although I wanted to also give it to Kraven the Hunter. Both of those movies make for one of the worst double features you could possibly imagine. Thanks a lot, Sony. But what made this movie so bad is its use of clip art style special effects, especially in that fireworks scene at the end. It looked extremely amateur. I was wondering about three-quarters of the way into this movie where that $150 million budget went. Where did that money go? It certainly wasn't in the special effects. It wasn't in the acting. This was an anomaly. The movie was a complete disaster, and you're left wondering, how does a AAA blockbuster studio make a movie that looks this cheap? And that's not even the least of the problems that this movie had. So, congratulations, Sony. You made the 200-foot woman in Love Lies Bleeding look like the Hulk in the Avengers. This next category was my favorite to assemble last year, and it certainly is my favorite this year. Movie scenes can take us many different places. They could be emotional, they could be hilarious, they can make us excited or angry or sad or scared. I want to celebrate the feeling of a really good scene. Hell, even bad movies once in a while have a really good scene. These are the nominees for the 2024 Scene of the Year.
American Standoff from Civil War, The Battle of Arrakeen from Dune Part 2, Defying Gravity from Wicked, the Honda Odyssey fight from Deadpool and Wolverine, Riley's sense of self from Inside Out 2, and The Stowaway from Furiosa.
Chalk another one up to Dune Part 2 as the winner of Scene of the Year goes to The Battle of Arrakeen from Dune Part 2. Dune Part 1 ended with Paul fleeing into the sands of Arrakis with the Fremen. In Dune Part 2, we finally get the ultimate cathartic release as Paul gets his revenge on Baron and House Harkonnen from the Battle of Arrakeen. The scene of the sandworms riding in, the helicopters getting taken out, and the final confrontation between the Baron and Paul makes for one of the most ultimate cathartic releases in any sci-fi film of all time. This was my favorite scene of the year, and I hope you agree. There was some stiff competition this year. I gotta give a huge shout out to Inside Out also. That Riley sense of self was probably the only scene that made me cry this year, but unfortunately, I have to give it to Dune Part 2 for bringing that excitement back to the movie theaters. And now we've come to the part of the video that's all about the individual accolades. Unlike the Oscars or the Golden Globes, I don't separate Best Actor or Best Actress in terms of supporting or leading. I feel like if you've made an impact on the film, it doesn't matter if you're a supporting character or a leading character. They both feel the same.
The nominations for Best Actor are Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2, Hugh Grant for Heretic, Josh O'Connor for Challengers, Nicholas Hoult for Nosferatu, Timothée Chalamet for Dune Part 2, Willem Dafoe for Nosferatu, and Yura Borisov for Anora.
And the winner goes to Hugh Grant for Heretic. Now, the competition and the nominations on the actors' side of things is a little bit slimmer than what I have for the actresses, mostly because I didn't go out and watch films like The Brutalist. I didn't have 3.5 hours to dedicate to that film. Plus, it was not playing in my local area, so that's why Adrian Brody isn't here. But Hugh Grant left such an impression on me when I watched Heretic. It was like I was just counting down the minutes until he would come back on screen. I never thought I wanted to see Hugh Grant as a horror villain, but here we are. In Heretic, he steals every scene he's in, whether he's monologuing or cohorting with the girls in the cellar. This is a powerhouse performance of his, and one that went completely off his regular typecast. I loved him in this movie, and he is single-handedly the reason why I could recommend you go out and watch Heretic. Now, for the girls. The Best Actress category is the reason why I decided to do 7 nominees for Best Actor. It's because I felt like it was only fair to do 7 women and 7 men. There were so many performances from the ladies this year that I had to commend so many of these girls. Here are the nominees for Best Actress.
Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. Demi Moore for The Substance. Lily Rose Depp for Nosferatu. Mikey Madison for Honora. Naomi Scott for Smile 2. Willa Fitzgerald for Strange Darling. And Zendaya for Challengers.
There's a weird bit of symmetry between Best Actor and Best Actress this year, as the winner for Best Actress goes to Demi Moore for The Substance. In both categories, I awarded an actor or actress in their 60s that are going against typecast and appearing in a horror film. Both Hugh Grant and Demi Moore give the performance of their lifetime in both these horror films. It was actually a big year for horror, so I'm really glad to see 2 outstanding performances there. Demi Moore is going to be showered with awards all year long. She's already won the Golden Globe, and she's almost a surefire hit for the Oscar. I hope she gets it. This performance demanded so much out of her, both emotionally and physically, and she rose to the occasion. So congrats to Demi Moore. The Substance wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for her. And so we've come to the final 2 categories of the night. First, we have Best Director. Last year I gave it to Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer because obviously I'm a Christopher Nolan fan, but he also delivered on the biggest film of the year. This year, we have a ton of diversity when it comes to the Best Director nomination category. So here they are. Here are the nominees.
Coralie Fargeau for The Substance. Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. Jane Schoenbrunn for I Saw the TV Glow. John Chu for Wicked. Luca Guadagnino for Challengers. Sean Baker for Honora.
And the winner for Best Director goes to Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. It's no surprise that the 2 best directors in the game right now, Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve, take home the 2 Best Director awards for both the first Gilly Awards and the second annual Gilly Awards. Denis Villeneuve brought together Dune Part 2 in such a masterful way, blending together practical and special effects with performances out of Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet that are to be acclaimed. This is one of my favorite films of the year, and Denis Villeneuve's direction and his vision for these movies has been a godsend. This is one of the best science fiction films of all time, and it's all because of his work. So congratulations, Denis. You deserve this one. And now we come to the final award of the night, the Viewer's Choice Film of the Year. As I mentioned before in this video, I am prolonging the best of and the worst of list for my own separate videos, and those will be up on the channel shortly. So in the meantime, let's go to the Viewer's Choice Film of the Year. This was a poll that I posted on social media on X and Instagram throughout the month of December and January, and these are the results. Here are the nominees for Viewer's Choice Film of the Year.
Beetlejuice, Deadpool and Wolverine, Dune Part 2, Furiosa, Inside Out 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Twisters, Wicked.
In a stunning upset of Wicked and Dune Part 2, the Viewer's Choice Film of the Year goes to Deadpool and Wolverine, as voted on by you, my audience. Deadpool and Wolverine was a huge return to form for Marvel. It brought in a lot of money and also kind of course-corrected some of the problems that the MCU has been having recently. It is funny, stylistic, and action-packed. I love Deadpool and Wolverine, and I think you guys made a great choice. As I said, look out for my best of 2024 video coming up on the channel to know what I thought was the best movie of 2024, and also what I thought was the worst movie of 2024. Leave a comment down below for what you thought of these nominees, what your own personal bests and worst were, and I want to thank you for the support. This has been a 2-month-long project finally coming to its conclusion. It's been long overdue. I had to battle pneumonia and a few other personal demons, and finally it's come to a head. I have a lot of big plans coming up for 2025, and I can't wait for you to be a part of it. So please like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss another episode. Follow me on social media at PC with Gil. I have a Discord link that will be showing on the screen in a little bit. Be sure to join our Discord so you could be a part of the community. Thank you all so much for the support. Let's all go catch a movie.